What's going on, everyone? Jared Plon here, CPA accountant, freedom fighter, and just wanted to try out something new. I know media doesn't do a great job of fact checking the politicians in Canada, so I thought I would take that job on for them. So we're going to look at a couple of questions that the Minister of Transportation took and an announcement October 29th regarding some new travel restrictions and modifications. So let's have a watch.
We will now open the floor to questions. Alors, nous passons maintenant à la période de questions. So we ask that you please begin your question by identifying yourself and naming the media outlet you represent. Alors, nous demandons que vous commencez votre question, vous identifiez l'organisme de presse que vous représentez, and we'll proceed to our first question.
Good afternoon, Mark Douglas from City News 680. The 1 month grace period to show the negative test results. I'm just going to try to cover up the microphone here from the wind if you don't mind. The 1 month grace period, the negative test results, that's okay to travel for now, but then suddenly won't be. Why is that enough to get on a plane now, but then on another day it won't be enough?
Okay, so if you remember during the campaign, Trudeau was out basically every day saying, you got to get the vax, otherwise you can't go on, planes, trains, any of this federally regulated transportation methods. So it took them a little while after the election wrapped up, but then they came out with a press conference, him and Freeland. I think that was probably early October, outlined some plans and said by the end of October, you need to have the vax in order to travel anywhere. So at this press conference, Minister of Transport comes out and says, well, now we're pushing it back to the end of November. And I guess my question for all these guys is, when did, press conferences or airports become parliament? Is this how we pass laws now? We just set up a stand and a microphone out on the tarmac and bam, we've got legislation? I don't think it works that way.
So the objective that we committed to Canadians is that we require vaccination for every traveler. For now, we know that Canadians who have not been vaccinated are now thinking about getting vaccinated, and hopefully they will go out and get vaccinated. So they will be required to get tested.
So does it sound like it's more of a coercion method than anything else? It's not like it's based on science. They're just trying to put these things into place to go get you to get some doses. I mean, it has nothing to do with, any logical transmission guidelines or anything like that.
Prior to departure. But so let me go back to the reasons why we're doing this vaccination. There are multiple reasons. One of them is ensuring that we have a safe workplace or travel place for travelers, for workers, for everyone.
Now, if you remember most of 2020 and into 2021, they were out every single week saying airplanes are by far the safest thing that you could possibly go and do. And no cases are ever coming in from the airplanes. But I mean, where do these things come from? They don't just pop out of thin air. Clearly, they came from the airplanes. So if they were safe back then, why is it so deadly to go on the airplane now that the vax is an option where it wasn't back in 2020? I mean, the politicians seem to be fine going to holiday down in Mexico and stuff over Christmas break. So I don't know, what's the difference?
Second is to boost confidence in the industry, in travel, in aviation, because there are many people who have been thinking about traveling for business or otherwise, who've been hesitant because they're worried about whether they are on a plane or a train where people sitting next to them may not be vaccinated. Third, to ensure that we don't go back to lockdowns. We don't go back to the days that Deborah was referring to, where we had very few planes on the tarmac and very few travel.
coronavirus did not shut down the planes, your businesses, or anything else. Government policy did that.
Because of public health measures. And the way to do all of these three objectives is to get everybody vaccinated. So yes, we know that there are some people who have not been vaccinated, so we're creating an interim measure, but ultimately.
Are they creating an interim measure because it is not lawful to pass changes to what I would say would be the Constitution from a tarmac?
We want to reach a high threshold, not only of travelers, but in Canadian society, so we can end this pandemic.
Just one follow-up while I'm here at the microphone. Then the timing of bringing in these measures, is this in large part, I assume, to get everybody ready and fully vaccinated well in time for December holiday travel?
See? Are the measures in place there to get people vaccinated before Christmas? Does it have anything to do with safety or just bumping up numbers? Let's see what he says.
We want to do it as quickly as possible, but yes, it takes time to prepare the industry, to prepare travelers. We announced this measure on August 13th.
We've been at this for 20 months. How is everything, figuring it out now? Like, should have had testing back in, April of 2020. Either you got it or you don't. You hop on a plane and you go. I don't know why this is so complicated.
The Prime Minister re-announced it again a few weeks ago, and today I'm here to again remind Canadians that as of tomorrow, this policy is kicking in.
Can a policy kick in from a microphone on a tarmac? I don't think so.
Yes, we know many Canadians would love to, we know how many Canadians love to travel during Christmas or during winter, so we would love to be ready for that by then.
Mr. Shauna with City News. Just to follow up on Mark Douglas's question, this was announced, like you said, back in August and announced again. Everyone knew that this was coming. So why bother with the grace period? The people who are unvaccinated.
There's a grace period there because it's not lawful. I mean, what is the charter there and the mobility rights for? I mean, clearly you have the right to travel around Canada. And as far as I know, you have the right to go in and out of Canada. That's what they were saying early on in the pandemic when they were, getting all these airplane workers to fly all over the world to bring people back, because Canadians had the right to come back into Canada. So why has it changed now?
Knew that these travel restrictions would be coming. So if they haven't done it by now, why even give them more time to consider it?
So look, this grace period includes within it a testing requirement. So
I'm fairly certain at this point in time, whether you have the vax or not, you still have to test. So what did that vax help you out with?
we're not staying where we were today, where we are today, where there are no vaccination requirements at all and no test requirements. As you know, the first and second dose may require 3-4 months, so that's why we needed to announce it as early as possible. There are also issues of the exemptions, religious exemptions, medical health exemptions that we wanted to give people a chance to sort out as quickly as possible.
So now they are letting you do those? A couple of weeks ago, Trudeau said those would be very, very few.
But give them a period to transition. Employers, airlines, operators needed also to prepare. So that's why we're given this grace period, but it's just we know that this is the pandemic that brought significant measures, so we want to be.
Pandemic did not bring measures, government did.
As prudent as possible, but we also want to be as clear as possible about the requirement.
Also, I think typically when you're, confident, telling the truth, being honest with people, you're a little bit more, firm in your delivery on how things are going. This seems to be very wishy-washy on how the so-called facts of this is coming out.
Hey, Katie Damon, CTV News, Hi Minister. Just some clarification. What happens to foreign nationals who choose to leave Canada after the 28th of February?
So let me explain first this policy. Over the last few months, we've had non-Canadians came into Canada on special needs, so special skilled people, temporary foreign workers, students who were given an exemption because they were not vaccinated. Many of those, or maybe all of them, want to leave at some time, so we're telling and may have not been vaccinated, so we're saying you have till February 28th to leave. After that, the same rule will apply. So anybody who wants to leave Canada or get on a plane who is a foreigner.
So if you're a foreign national, you have till February to leave the country? Is that what I'm hearing without these supposed new guidelines?
Who has not left by February 28th, they need to get vaccinated.
And my next question is, so it's expected that Health Canada will very shortly approve Pfizer for kids 5 to 11.
If you haven't already seen it, go on to my Facebook page. I shared the FDA documents from when they sat down to discuss the vax for ages 5 to 11. For every 1 million doses, no, 1 million fully vaccinated kids ages 5 to 11, the modeling will, what was it? Oh yeah. Hopefully they will prevent between 0 and 3 COVID deaths for 1 million kids fully vaccinated. Does that make a whole lot of sense? We pushing patient care or profits?
So does the government intend to expand the vaccine requirement for travel to anyone 5 and up?
I'm looking forward to Health Canada's decision on that process. We will, based on whatever the outcome of that decision is, we will adjust our policies based again on public health advice. As of now, I don't want to preempt that. First, we have to wait and see what Health Canada says about Pfizer for people who are 12 and under.
There's literally no need for that whatsoever.
Hi, Mr. Camille with Radio Canada. I was wondering if you could clarify again about the exceptions. What does emergency mean in that context?
So, in consultation with Indigenous,
Should just be able to go wherever you want.
with provinces, territories, and in consultation with industries, we recognize there are several communities who their only way in and out for most of the year is through boarding a plane. And many residents of those communities will require to travel by plane for emergency or essential purposes. So based on
So are they exempt completely just because they're in a hard to reach place? Let's see.
on that, we wanted to make sure that people will still have the necessary ability to get access to essential trips. So we are putting in place some exceptions with guardrails.
Getting really tired of the government determining who, what, where is essential. Everything that happens in the world is essential. That's why it happens.
With measures as well to protect the health and safety of everyone. But again, those are communities that have very little, if no access to the outside world other than traveling by plane.
So just to be sure, that would only apply to those certain communities and there will not be any other exceptions for other Canadians in the country?
That's correct. This is for remote communities that
Weren't they complaining early on and shutting down a lot of those places up north because they are so remote that if you just bring in people and you happen to spread the virus around, then you've got no hospital facilities, you got limited staffing, et cetera, and it can turn into a nightmare then? Just doesn't make any sense.
we're required to board a plane services.
So no medical or religious exemptions for other Canadians.
Oh, yes, well, that's a separate, yes, so there are exemptions for
So
religious and
confusing.
medical reasons.
Just let people travel. They want to travel.
Rare, to be honest. And the guidelines for those will be coming out soon. For now,
This is what they do with everything. They announce these programs, whether it's travel restrictions, government spending, whatever the case might be, make themselves look good based on, you know, the day and the time that the announcement comes out. And then some of these things, you know, they never even come to pass. They, you know, don't go into Parliament for discussion. They don't even become laws. But you know, it's just about manipulating the public perception of what's going on, you know.
unvaccinated Canadians for religious or medical reasons need to get PCR tests, and the rules will be clarified before November 30th.
20 months into this, how have they not figured out what's going on yet?
Thank you everyone for joining us. This concludes today's event. Alors merci tout le monde. Ceci conclut l'événement d'aujourd'hui. We will now
Well, it's episode 1. Let me know if you guys got some other videos that you want me to take on. Happy to take on some of these politicians and provide some fact checking, because they, you know, they flip-flop daily. And obviously from some of the questions you get from the media, no one's here to challenge them on anything that they're saying, any of the logic or the common sense behind any of these policies that they, you know, announce at the tarmac on the airport here. So let me know videos that you want me to take on. I'll be happy to do that in the upcoming future. Had fun with this. Take care. Peace.